Guys, I can't believe it's actually happening. The copium that they saved the budget for U20 was actually true. Blue Lock episode 11 just surprised everyone, says Hiryo. Let's glaze Blue Lock because I think it actually deserves to be glazed after the most recent episodes.
Blue Lock episode 11 has finally aired, and wow, we got so much to talk about. I think this is the biggest episode for the season.
Yes, I think it's the best episode so far. And I think the finale is probably going to be better because remember, we have next week, we have another single episode, which is going to be episode 36, right? If you don't include the season 2 episode titling. And then the week after that, December 28th, back-to-back episodes. 2 episodes in one to conclude it. I bet that one is going to be the best. It's something crazy must happen near the end of U20.
You guys know the drill by now. Did the animation improve? Is this episode any good? What are the best and worst moments? And what is the community's reaction to this newest episode?
The community's reaction is this. Everyone is happy. And I'm upset. I'm upset that Blue Lock is getting away with it. What do I mean by getting away with it? Basically this. Imagine that you have a kid that comes to school and skips every fucking class. Skips every homework. Skips every lab. And then he just pulls up for the final exam, aces it, and leaves. That's what's happening right now for Blue Lock. And maybe that analogy, you know, as a student, that sounds sick. But think of this from like an anime industry example. 8-Bit Studios and the production committee known as Bandai Namco working on this have realized that they can get away with it. What you're seeing on the screen right now are the fucking corporate suits. The corporate suits who are min-maxing, reducing the budget for all the other scenes that are deemed unworthy and going all out just for the moments that matter. And they're going to do this for future projects. But like, goddamn, I still have to give it to them. It's frustrating that they will most likely, this kind of like practice in the industry will become more and more common and relevant as they're succeeding with this min-maxing result. But still, when they show up to play, I gotta glaze. It was stupid dummy hype.
We got a lot to talk about, so let's jump into it. Episode 11 picks up instantly where we left off, Hiryo copying Aiku's defensive ability and picking up with the U20's attack. But of course, the main focus for this episode was on Shido Ryusei. We immediately start diving into his character as well as his philosophy for this match.
That's right. His philosophy is knocking up the goal. The goal is the egg, and the ball is his sperm. And through his crazy antics and scoring, he leaves behind his legacy, a mark on the world. Why do fans accept slop? Here's a good question. It's because we're monkeys. It's because we don't know any better. It's because we are so cucked. Like, people... and it's not necessarily all that. When you have like video games that come out like Concord, video games, you know, that are like so quote unquote woke and meant for like the modern audience, that they sacrifice good gameplay and focus on like these weird fucking character designs and inclusive like woke narratives. Those games do bad, the consumers don't buy, and then game studios fall apart, right? But here's the interesting thing with Blue Lock. If Blue Lock was truly ass and it didn't have any of these moments, people would drop it. And I bet you 8-Bit Studios would not continue Blue Lock. But it's the fact that they actually show up sometimes. It's a very toxic, abusive relationship. It's crazy that like I am willing to forget everything that happened prior to this because of the hype. I bring up the Demon Slayer Hashira training arc example too. Anybody that watched Demon Slayer Hashira training arc anime episodes 1 to 8, knows that pretty much everything in the middle is fucking mid-trash. It's just straight up filler. And the filler with the Hashiras is hype, but most of the times, like nothing is fucking happening. It's actually crazy how they stretch nothing. But the finale episode was so stupid hype that suddenly that recency bias will now make me think that everything was good because I'm a fucking monkey. Same with Blue Lock. Shido popping off like this makes me forget about Slide Lock. Now I'm getting hyped for Blue Lock, and 8-Bit Studios is playing me like a fiddle.
Because at this point, we don't know too much about Shido, but we dive into more of his thought process and his weapons or abilities, him dialoguing about his philosophy on football, and you know, the whole passing down genetic cells thing. They implemented a new OST for Shido, and I believe it fit him really well. I think
hype.
the visuals also got an upgrade as Shido dialogues over this. Like, they'll be highlighting his character, doing the stadium lights, giving him glowing eyes, and of course, it all culminates into what everyone has been talking about, which is Shido Ryusei's Big Bang Drive.
Yo, we got a fucking signature move, baby. It was so cool. The bicycle overhead kick, which also kind of looked like a drive shot from Captain Tsubasa. The heavy topspin that makes the ball arc up and soar down like an eagle.
This is what everyone is talking about, the main focus of this episode. This goal was absolutely crazy. Not only plot-wise, but adaptation, animation, OST.
I think they killed it. Right? I think they actually knew that, like, all right, we got to pull up for this one. We got to, like, all the budget that we saved leading up to this poured into Shido's goal. So, like, this is what I mean when I say 8-Bit Studios and the production committee working on Blue Lock is a lot more in tune with the overall direction and understanding of the story of Blue Lock compared to Tower of God. Because both, you know, I bring this up every time whenever I compare Blue Lock. Tower of God and Blue Lock are in a similar situation, yet Blue Lock is succeeding. Similar situation as in both production committees are Bandai Namco Filmworks. Both studios are just kind of doing a mid job mostly. Yet Blue Lock is still so hyped, yet Tower of God is not. I refuse to believe it's because the Workshop Battle Arc story is not hype. Both U20 and Workshop Battle Arc should be both equally just hype. Maybe one is more hyped than the other, but doesn't mean that Workshop Battle is boring. But because the Answer Studio that's working on Tower of God project has no fucking clue the overall themes of Tower of God, they're not able to bring these stories hype out. Whenever we read the articles talking about Blue Lock production, there was so much emphasis on the staff working together with the author of the Blue Lock manga, the editor as well. Everyone is on the same page and they know exactly what Blue Lock is supposed to be. I don't think the same can be said about Tower of God. Because obviously, Tower of God, the author, SIU, he's in Korea, right? Korean projects often just fall really apart because there's a lack of, I don't want to say respect, but people are not on the same page when it comes to giving that kind of attention. Therefore, Tower of God has a hype story, yet it just feels mid because the overall direction and the adaptation of that story fails in comparison to Blue Lock. Where again, Blue Lock is doing slide lock, Blue Lock is doing PNG lock, yeah, I know. But they know when to turn up. They know when to bring the fucking hype. Holy shit, this buffering.
I think
Jesus, what the hell was that buffering?
But adaptation, animation, OST, I think they seriously nailed this goal. The slowdown moments, Shido's demon wing aura even popping up, the kick even had impact frame.
Yes, and like Ego's monologue talking about Shido. Like, dude, the whole like pink saturated scenes, it was actually so hype.
For this goal, this whole sequence was just amazing, but a very underrated thing I want to highlight for this goal was the voice acting. Shido's VA went absolutely crazy delivering the hype, and I think the madness that Shido's character portrays. Because
quite often I don't really recognize voice actors' roles because they're already so good. It's like a default to me that I know the voice actors are always going to be great. Therefore, it's not the thing that pops out the most to me because like it's just assumed that it's going to be great already.
Because, I mean, his philosophy is about, you know, the whole genetic thing, passing it down. We got a lesson on biology, and Shido's VA sold it well. And even the visuals for that was nice. Like, they implemented...
Yeah, this shit was crazy, man. The sperm, the zygote, the eggs being fertilized, Ego also having a say in this shit. It was crazy.
Did it during the Shido goal. Again, that goal was just wow. Like, I actually have no words. I'm so happy that they did
so
this
hype.
good. I think this is one of the best goals we've seen, if not the best goal we've seen.
I think it is the best.
And a lot of people seem to agree that this was an amazing goal, maybe even the best goal we've seen in the whole series, because the animation was just so nice. It felt very fluid with his kick,
and we actually got to see the kick too. Because most of the goals so far, again, you don't even see the foot animation because it's doing slide lock. The foot has already extended, the ball's already in the net, and you just see, you know, the same manga paddle just shaking in place to give the illusion that things are moving. But this Shit's actually moving, man.
Aura popping up, cut between scenes, and
Yep.
reaction of everyone else,
Yep.
as well as just the visual aura on the ball and Shido's flow state face or just goal celebration. This was just very good from start to end.
It just captures like the raw essence hype of what sports is supposed to be. And one of my favorite things is, again, the reactions from everyone else. Whenever something hype is happening, like a pan by pan, just like boom, like showing different frames of other characters, just in utter shock, just adds to this like this depth of the hype that everyone else in the stadium is fucking peaking right now. The young kid is getting excited because it's soccer for the first, like his soccer dreams are coming true. The fucking businessmen are getting hyped up because their parlay fucking hit. Like this goal was so sick.
Face or just goal celebration, this was just very good from start to end. We gotta give credit when credit is due. They gave Shido the time and effort here, and it really does pay off. I think this goal surprised everyone. We'll talk more about the goal when we get into the community reaction, but the goal isn't the only thing in this episode. In fact,
everyone else starts to get unlock flow too. Yukimura next. Who else? Oliver, right? Yeah. Baro showed up too, switching things up.
We still got more than half of this episode left. But of course, the goal was what everyone was talking about. Right after the goal, we get another big moment. To be honest, this episode had a lot of big moments, which just tells you how important this last half is. Isagi confronting Ego and asking him how do they win is the next important moment. I think this was very good too.
I think that a lot of people probably can't appreciate the whole conversation between Ego and Isagi, but for the first time, I actually cared about Ego as like a coach. This whole speech, like one of the most like my like core memories of playing sports is like the bonds that we had with our coach, the amount of, sacrifice the coaches put through and the belief that he had in us. And like this here, it's like it feels like we're doing this for Ego. Well, it's more like we're doing this for ourselves. But you know how like Ego was saying, you kids are fine. Even if we lose, Blue Lock has succeeded. And even though I'll be gone, you're set up for the future. It's fine. And Isagi says, shut the fuck up, shitty Megane. We're not done yet. And then it turns out that Ego was, again, testing us as usual. Expected, the arrogance to show up, to hype up the kids. And we do have one more final plan. But like, I don't know. The whole dialogue there, it made me feel for Ego. Like, his life is on the line too, This is like a make or break situation where he could take over U20. Probably we're going to take over U20, right? The U20 coach is probably going to be replaced by Ego. Management situation, I'm not sure what's going to be with that. All the strikers are probably going to be added to the first, and like the top half of the team, while Oliver and the defense crew probably remains on U20 is what I'm expecting.
Obviously, you have Ego telling Isagi that Blue Lock overall still wins, even if they lose. I like how
his name is Yukimiya. It's Yukimura. Fuck it. He's so forgettable. He's not forgettable. It's just that he was like the duelist guy. The like 1v1 dude. And he did nothing. Until today, right? Until like the most recent episode. Then he actually pulled up.
They did this or how they approached it, showing different players, and then how Blue Lock, even if it fades away, will still be here because of them. And then you got Isagi taking none of that with the art getting darker and him shaded out, and then the original season 1 OST playing for him. I used to pray for times like this. Per usual with Blue Lock season 2, the art was very good and voice acting even better. Isagi's VA really conveyed all the emotions here. I think the only problem was Isagi's aura was a little too bright. I was kind of getting flat.
This fucking fart aura, man.
Flashbanged here, but this moment leads to Ego subbing in the Joker himself.
Yo, that was actually so hyped though. I love this frame though, because like during the reaction, red lightning strikes. It's like, oh, everyone knows what's about to happen. It's gonna be King Baro.
The Ego subbing in the Joker himself. Baro Shoei finally enters the pitch. I know a lot of people were waiting for this moment. His introduction and aura was just there. He somehow turned
He has the best aura. I think he does. The special effects compared to everyone else, I think Baro has the coolest aura. The black-red lightning is so much cooler than Isagi's fart aura.
Isagi into a composer, but since we only have half the episode left, we didn't get to see too much Baro highlight in this episode. We did see a little bit of his chop dribble and a little bit of his lion aura. The last two things before we jump into the overall episode and what you guys have been waiting for, the community reaction.
Shido is actually really cool too, because Shido gets like devil wings on his back. Yeah, the devil wings when he's in air, the pink purple wings, it's really cool. It's really fucking cool. The red lightning though, oh the classic black red lightning is so clean though. Yeah.
Yuki Miya's
I want Ego to have aura. I want Ego to enter flow state. Is it too much for me to ask? I mean, shit. You had the fucking project, you had the council boomers, bro, balancing the fucking cup of wine on his head. Bro unlocked Ego too. Sorry, flow too. I want Ego to like unlock flow from the sidelines.
flow state and Aiku's flow state. We have to cover these two important moments. Yuki Miya's flow state was mostly stills and CGI dribbling, but I will say the art for his stills were very, very good, especially the flow state eyes. The art and just the moment with his shot is very good, and not gonna lie, Yuki Miya sounds like he got a little too excited, talking about the sensation of flow and
yeah, bro was talking about like he's on the in the streets dribbling.
then the screen got whited out. Maybe this is the Shido effect. And then Aiku coming in with his flow state last second. Yet again, the art was very beautiful for this moment.
Everyone got
this is
flow.
where everyone's flow state eyes start coming in, and I think they adapted it very well. OSTs.
So like flow, it seems like the visual cue is like these strained lines, right? You get to see more details in the eyes. They'll glow with like a different color, but everyone will have like this strained lines dilated, right? Right over here.
And I think they adapted it very well. OSTs for both these moments were amazing. Overall, the OSTs for this episode was amazing. The background music really makes the anime so much better. But speaking on the overall episode, I think they've done it. This is probably the best episode we've gotten in.
Yes. And in our most recent tier list that we're going to be making, this is going to peak tier, bro. This is actually peak tier. It's crazy, man. I think that the most recent Blue Lock episode is better than the Dandadan episode, which is not a very fair comparison because the most recent Dandadan episode is not a climax episode. It's introductions and setup, right? New arc happening with Gigi, you know, explaining what's happened. Like it's not supposed to be a pop-off episode. So it's an unfair comparison, but still, Blue Lock was actually peak.
In season 2. Overall, there was so many good moments like we just covered. Shido's goal does hard carry here, but when you compare it to the other episodes, there is 100% a difference here. I think just the small quality of life animation improvements just adds so much to the overall enjoyment. Like the throw-ins got animation, the ball actually moved into the goal
instead of seeing the ball in the net already, we get to see the leg motion and the ball traversing. It's just like it's way better this way.
A cut. Some of the players were actually moving, and now the goals are starting to get effort too. Compare this Shido goal to Shido's third selection goals.
Yeah, that donkey kick one, while it is sick in a paused frame, there is no motion at all, right? So it's kind of like loses the hype. It still looks cool.
I mean, it's pretty obvious, but we still gotta give props. Of course, there are still some problems that have been consistent throughout the anime season. The PNGs are still here, and some characters looked odd at times. Like Shido turned into Shadow again, and Sendo turned into Mando. Obviously, the best moment of this episode was Shido's goal, and since we talk about the best moment, we have to mention the worst moment, and I think it was exactly that. The PNGs did
This guy keeps sliding. This dude always slides around.
Happened during Baro's sequence because you got so many players trying to defend him.
He's sliding.
So it is unfortunate, but it wasn't too prevalent in this episode, which is a very important thing for Blue Lock. I think this episode flowed very nicely, unlike
Oh, I see what he said there. He said flow.
other episodes where it was just constant PNGs in your face.
Yep.
So it made for a very enjoyable watch. You can 100% tell the difference. And since the majority of this episode was really good, it asks the big question, are we back?
Yeah, we're probably back. I don't know what the content of next week's episode is going to be. If it's not supposed to be having these key priority moments, we could have a mid episode next week. But for sure, the conclusion and the climax of the back-to-back episode will have this level of quality. Maybe it's audacious for me to assume this, but it just logically makes sense, right? As we gear into the end of the U20, things are going to be really tight. I'm sure there's going to be a huge climax moment. I have for sure confidence that on December 28th, the back-to-back finale will be amazing. But next week's episode, I'm not too sure. If there is more key priority moments like Shido's goals, then probably it's going to be well. But if there's kind of like it's just like setting up to like the peak that's going to happen on the 28th, I could see just slide lock happening just for a little bit.
Is the animation actually improving? Before that, we have to cover what everyone else thinks, the community reaction. What do people think of episode 11?
People loved it.
From what I've seen, the community reaction was explosive here. It was overall so much positive feedback.
Yeah.
And so many people were talking about Shido's goal. A lot of praise for the animation, saying that this is the best goal we've seen in both seasons, and how the build up to it with all of his questionable explanations was done excellently. There was a lot of relief going around as well, because in the manga, it's one of the best goals and still holds up to current day.
Really?
So doing it justice really gave it a lot of...
Yeah, and this is like knowing the show, right? This is, again, something that's absent in Tower of God, where, not really spoilers, but the main character unlocked like Super Saiyan, Gear 2, Bankai, that kind of equivalent power, yet the hype is non-existent. Because they just don't understand the Answer Studio, I mean. They got no answer for that shit. For Blue Lock, because they closely work with the actual creators of Blue Lock and they understand the assignment. They know when and like how to give light to these key priority moments.
Positive feedback. And I think a lot of people seem to agree that this is the best episode we have gotten so far, even one-upping the last episode, which was previously the best.
Yeah, it was
Again,
really good.
when you compare it to the
Have you noticed that whenever Shido shows up, that the episodes are just amazing?
other episodes, it's not too high of a bar, but I guess Shido is saving season 2. The copium paid off for the people. But
That's right. What were you saying? They saved the budget for U20, guys. U20, it's happening there, and it actually did happen. But here's the really fucked up part, again, like I mentioned in the beginning, right? They're getting away with it. A lot of people are very hyped up, and they should be. But we've been fed so much slop, we've been fed so much garbage that we've been desensitized, right? Our expectations are low. And that's why something above average now seems peak. I think this is better than above average though, right? What Shido did. I don't know about the entire episode. There's again these moments of weaknesses that we see here and there, but it's just like, you shouldn't be hating. We should be happy. I'm actually just relieved that like, it's good to know that Apis Studios can do this, you know? Like at the very least, they can show up and actually fucking put in the work if they want to. That's good to know. But knowing that they can get away with this, and you know the production committee is all just fucking laughing and just probably just popping off because it's like, yeah, man, these monkey consumers, they really are letting us get away with this, huh? Gave you like fucking 9 episodes of fucking mid. We're gonna feed you some hype now, and now you're gonna forget all the things that led up to this, and it's just like, yo, that's casual audience behavior, and there's nothing we can do about it. We should just, I don't want to say just be grateful, but I think that rather than being salty and negative, it's better to just enjoy the hype for what it is.
But there's still the other side of the community who still thinks this goal and episode wasn't good at all.
That's delusional. That's actually delusional. You're hating for the sake of hating now. You're being so disingenuous if you saw the episode and say it wasn't good. That's ridiculous. You could say it's like, all right, but I'm not going to say it's peak. Then I'd be like, yeah, that's fair. But if you're going to say it wasn't good, come on, man.
In fact, I actually saw a lot more negative feedback than I thought. People on Twitter, in my comments, there was still a lot of overall dismay for this episode, saying that this is still not good animation or the manga moment was better. And I just gotta say,
Manga moment maybe was better. I don't know.
I don't really understand it. Obviously, everyone can have their opinions and stuff. No matter what community reaction, good or bad, I'm gonna cover it. There are still gonna be odd frames, PNGs, and CGI. I think we've all accepted it at this point. But again, comparing this episode where it wasn't as prevalent to episodes where it was just back to back to back, there was definitely improvement here. The criticism for the previous PNG animation where it was constantly in your face, yeah, that's understandable. But honestly, I think this adaptation was very good, so the criticism isn't too warranted for this goal specifically. You have to give credit when credit is due, and this is definitely a step up from the previous episode.
Agreed.
And as Blue Lock fans, we gotta acknowledge those step ups, so I'm not sure if the criticism is justified here, but that's just me.
The criticism is just people just hating for the sake of hating because it drives up engagement. They don't actually feel this way. They just know that if they shit talk Blue Lock right now, they get a lot of likes, you know, internet points online. That's why they're doing it.
Personally, whether you enjoyed it or not depends completely on you again. All right, the last and most important thing I want to cover is what this episode means for the rest of the season.
What it means for the rest of the season? Well, it means that we can expect this level, assuming next week's episode also has some key priority moments, that we can expect this level for the rest. Next week, if it doesn't have a key priority moment like Shido's goal, then maybe it's going to be a little bit more just chill and average. But for sure, they will not fuck up the finale. The finale will be the most like long-lasting impressions. That will be like the most like condemning like episode in terms of like how people will feel about the overall season. So 8-Bit Studios will most likely go all out. The fact that they're even combining both 37 and 38 episode together for, you know, one day release, it tells me that like they're gonna finish very hard.
We have 3 more episodes to go. And since we just got the best overall episode with really good moments, animations, OSTs, are we officially back? Now for my answer, I think it's both yes and no. To be honest, it does seem like they're more focusing on goals. It's evident with both Nagi and Shido. Overall though, I think there's a slim chance it'll magically improve like people wish it will, but I think there's still high hopes to see our favorite moments adapted as well. Because it was proven in this episode, Shido had an amazing goal, and it wasn't just him. Baro and Yukimiya's important moments got some highlight too. So maybe for the future episodes, we could hope that the important moments will get some highlight as well, especially since we're wrapping up this season.
Exactly. Remember, the final impressions will be the most important. And rather than like, what does it mean for the rest of the season? I think a bigger question is, what does it mean for season 3 if season 3 is going to be adapted? Because again, even though things are going good right now, just understand that like every episode wasn't like this. And the reason that Bandai Namco production committee decided to go with this strategy is because this is the way to minimize the budget, the resources, and to make the most out of nothing, right? So if they can get away with this, and there's so much, you know, positive signals from the fans that they enjoy these hype moments, it's most likely that their future projects will also have this best practice in mind, where they're going to do slide lock, PNG, they're going to do all these different, you know, sketchy ways of animating shows without actually animating it, showing up for the moments that only matter. The audience will go crazy, eat it up, and they'll just repeat and repeat. And that kind of is the part that I'm like upset about, that like I think we deserve better. I think that we should always demand quality. If you say that like just be grateful what you've been given, you have such a cucked mindset. I cannot believe that you can't even like think better for yourself. But at the end of the day, the world isn't perfect. It's not realistic to always demand, you know, to expect. You can always demand, but you can't expect top tier quality in every single thing. And we have a working relationship right now, you know? We have a working relationship with 8-Bit Studios and the staff that worked on this and the production committee. So season 3 and beyond, you know, I think a lot of people will find Blue Lock enjoyable.
Anyways, if you made it to the end though, thank you guys so much for watching.
I did. Please go give Mr. Hiryo a like on the video. Here's a link to his channel. Go check him out. And I'll see you guys next time.